Ahead of the Premier League season, Tottenham face a midfield injury crisis. James Maddison has done his ACL and will be out for a majority of the new campaign. And Dan Kulusevski is not expected back until at least probably December. So what does this mean for Tottenham? Well, they need to go out into the transfer market and sign a creative midfielder or a number 10. So today on the talkSPORT YouTube channel, I'm going to be suggesting the player that Tottenham must sign to solve this issue. But before we go any further, if you are new to the channel, then leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also let me know in the comments down below, who do you want us to sign as our number 10? So yeah, I've aired my frustration on a few videos recently that I think Thomas Frank's current Tottenham side are lacking the creative edge. And it's obvious because we have got two massive injuries, but someone who can really play that 10 and dominate the play, unlock, certain defences and low blocks and get the most out of our wingers and striker depending on who's starting in the lineup. And as we all know, it's not going to be easy because Tottenham are not making too many moves or much noise in the transfer market thus far. I've seen you guys in the comments and your frustrations. It makes a total amount of sense. Obviously, the key example of a player that we probably should be signing is an Eberechi Eze, especially after the Gibbs-White deal fell through. I mean, we're all frustrated about that. And, I've said how much we needed him. Even if James Maddison and Dan Kulusevski are fit, I think he would have played a vital part or role in this side. But looking at Eberechi Eze, again, would really love him. Premier League quality, can, drift out to the left and solve that issue on the wing as well. And it's just, the modern Premier League creative 10. I think Thomas Frank would love him as well. There were some rumours that, from Alistair Gold saying that Tottenham may go back in for him, but I've seen the clip that Alistair Gold is referring to in this tweet, and he does say that maybe Arsenal will then go for him a bit more if we, decide to go back in for him. So take that with a pinch of salt. So what we need to do now is look at alternatives. I've seen us link with Khannouss from Leicester. And again, I saw him, how good he was for Leicester against Tottenham when they beat us 2-1. I was there that day for that game. And he is a really good player. A lot of potential for a young age. So, it's sort of, now we're in a sticky situation of, and I did a video with Alice Talks Football recently saying, like, what sort of 10 should we be looking for? And there was a big split decision on whether that is, should we go for an experienced player? Like, a lot of people I've seen are saying we should go for a Jack Grealish, including Troy Deeney recently. But before we go any further on this video, a large majority of you watching this right now are not subscribed to the talkSPORT YouTube channel. What are you doing? We're a week away from the start of the season, and I'm on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So get down below, hit that subscribe button, and as importantly, hit the notification bell, because it'll let you know when I've gone live for my match reactions, my transfer updates, and all that good stuff about Tottenham Hotspur. Come on, you want to do it. But enough of me waffling on. Let's get on with the video.
It was a bad day yesterday for Thomas Frank. Not only the Maddison injury of being ruled out for quite some while, but also being beaten up by Bayern Munich by 4-0. And it could have been more as well, by the way. Kudus and Palhinha through the door. Thomas Frank would have liked more, I would have thought, by this stage of the summer transfer window. But he was chosen by the hierarchy because he was Thomas Frank, and he is not going to cause you that much grief, I think. And maybe he has to be prepared to work with a squad that mainly won the Europa League last season.
Well, if that's the case, he's got a problem, because obviously Ange Postecoglou came out in Bilbao and said that from January onwards he had to prioritise Europe because they didn't have a strong enough squad to compete on two fronts. They're now going into the top competition. They're in with the big boys in the Champions League. I know you don't want to read too much into pre-season, but it sounded like it was men against boys in that friendly against Bayern Munich. So, yeah, confidence is not going to be high. Obviously, they missed out on Gibbs-White, which would have been competition for James Maddison. So they've gone from potentially having two really good number 10s to not having one at all. João Palhinha's come in, but I think it's a bit of a gamble on a player who 2 years ago was brilliant in the Premier League, 2 years older now, didn't work out for him in Germany. And Kudus for me is hit and miss as well. I don't think that's nailed on to be a success.
Yeah, I don't think Palhinha is a gamble. I think whenever we've done the games and spoke about it, I've always worried about that midfield. I don't know who their holder is, who their enforcer is. I think you know what you're getting with Palhinha.
He's terrific.
He's proper. I get your point. He hasn't played as much and he's not in that vein of form, but I don't think he's put miles on the clock in terms of him playing week in, week out, or had any significant
He's a great
injuries.
player.
He's a great player. I think he's an upgrade on Bentancur, in my opinion. I think they need to figure out what that midfield looks like.
There's a lot of players in. I was actually just reaching down for my bag, and then I realised that everyone could see me doing that.
Yeah.
But this morning on the train, I was writing out the Tottenham squad and where everyone sort of configures, and I noticed it was a little bit imbalanced. There's a lot of players that want to play on one side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players. You may end up having inverted wingers, someone playing on the left-hand side who's actually a right footer or prefers playing on the right-hand side. But there's a lot of players in that midfield area. You know, they've got a lot of names. Got Bissouma, Bergvall, Bentancur, Archie Gray,
Sarr.
Sarr. They've got players.
Kulusevski at times.
And Palhinha. So you've got a lot of players that are playing for two positions in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you look at the two centre-halves, if they're fit and available, that's solid. That's very, very good. It can compete in the Champions League.
Are they fit and available enough?
Exactly.
And Dragosan's already injured.
Dragosan's injured. Danzo, again, he's done nothing wrong, but he was going to Wolves last year. Let's call it as it is. He was going to Wolves for a reason. So I don't think if you had to play those two in the Champions League game, I think you're in trouble. Fullbacks is questionable. Like, where's Jed Spence going to play? Is he going to be your number one? Is Pedro Porro going to be your number one right back? I'm not sure. The goalkeeper, I'm definitely not sure on the goalkeeper personally. But you start looking through this, going for the Champions League. I think it's a really difficult time.
Vicario obviously started really well and then made a few mistakes and hasn't been at his best since then. Got injured. You've got Kinsku, they bought for a decent price in January.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, Thomas Frank's been quite impressed with him in pre-season. So I think there is a genuine fight for the number one jersey. But I agree with what Troy's saying. Are either of those really up to the level in terms of competing in the Champions League? We've talked a lot, haven't we, about top four, top six, top eight. I haven't really had Tottenham in that conversation.
No, I think they should be. I think last year was an outlier. I think you're going to start to see the correction of the teams doing what they need to do. A lot of Spurs players were injured last year, 13 at one point. But again, what's going to happen with Richarlison? Because it was taught that he was leaving. Again, it must be really difficult for Thomas Frank because he can't move anyone out because no one wants to buy these players because of their injury records. And they can't get the people in that he wants because they can't get the players out. It's like it's just going against each other. So he's probably going to have to work with what he's got. Kudus, I think, is a good player. I think he's got all the ability. We spoke to Kevin Nolan, didn't we, at Ascot, and he was saying how good he is and the ability he's got. But I do think now with Maddison going down, they have to look at that 10. I still think it's a perfect landing spot for Jack Grealish, personally. I think it's a wonderful landing spot.
Played down their interest this week in Jack Grealish, Tottenham.
Well, that's more. I think that's more of a Spurs thing. But you're talking about someone that's been, for whatever people want to talk about, Jack. He's been at City. He's used to winning. He knows the level, knows the standard, and he's an upgrade on everything that they've got there. So for me, the fact that they're playing it down, to me, is daft.
Or do we go for that potential, like an Khannouss, or the player that I am going to suggest today? Because this video was inspired by a tweet I saw from my good friend Dougie Critchley, and I think we should be going out and signing Nico Paz from FC Como. I did a video the other day reacting to the links, but this tweet that Dougie has posted has given me a lot of inspiration that this guy could be the signing for us. So Dougie's tweet read, Nico Paz is the sort of player that not only every Spurs fan would love, but every neutral to be rev stats as well. He is good at not only, he's passing, which I think is really strong, and what Dougie goes on to as well, and he's shooting, but also look at his defensive numbers as well. I mean, Thomas Frank wants his number 10 to track back. He wants him to be involved in the midfield as well, like he had with Mikkel Damsgaard at Brentford in his previous role. And also, just before we go any further, talking about Dougie's tweet, his goals, 35 appearances in Serie A last year, 6 goals, 9 assists, and he can play in such a range of different positions: centre mid, attacking mid, right wing, second striker, centre forward, and left wing as well. I think he's just got that overall just perfect package. And look at his goals in general: 105 appearances, 24 goals, 16 assists. I think that's so good for a midfielder. And going back to Dougie's tweet, he says 14 goals and assists in the league in 24-25, the same as Jamal Musiala for a newly promoted Como side that finished 10th. I mean, Como were one of the stories of Serie A last year. Really impressive debut campaign in Serie A. And you just got to think, Jamal Musiala, one of the best, young attacking midfielders in Europe, surrounded by the likes of Harry Kane, Kingsley Coman, Michael Olise. This Como side, don't get me wrong, it sounds like I'm undervaluing them here, but for a guy to put up these numbers, in a team like that who then finished 10th, I think it's totally impressive. It's unbelievable. Dougie also says 54 chances created last season, just one fewer than Desiree Doué. We've got to think how, I mean, we're playing PSG this week. Desiree Doué, one of the highest rated Wonderkids in Europe at PSG. Tottenham had a chance to sign him. We don't talk about that. But again, putting up the same numbers in, you know, the same realm as these sort of players. And I know what people might be saying, and I'll say this bit now. They might be like, oh, Sonny, it's in Serie A, you can't. But you know, a lot of our success has come out of that league. Look at Bentancur, look at Romero, look at Kulusevski as well. So I think you've got to take these stats at face value. 69 dribbles completed, 13 in Europe with a 51 completion rate. That's the same as Lamine Yamal. I mean, bloody hell, that's really, really good. 4.8 shot creating actions per 90, better than Odegaard, Maddison and Eze. I mean, look at that. You know, Maddison, who's obviously us, and Eze, who I've just spoke about in this video, who we're also linked to. I mean, it just makes total sense. And what I was saying about those defensive numbers, works hard too, made the same amount of defensive actions as Kimmich. He's the complete all-round package and brilliant on the eye. I just feel like this is the transfer we should be going for before a bigger club goes in for him. And I've seen rumours that, you know, we apparently bidded around 40 million for him, but they would like more of the 70 million. But I'll be honest, I think that's worth the risk. I would take a risk on this player. He is so good, has got so much potential. And those are people who will say we need an experienced player. I think he's got all the experience we need. Because what will happen, and I've heard this for a fact, I think Real Madrid have a buyback clause of 9 million euros. And they're going to trigger that. So we need to get in. We need to get in now and put a bid in. If we're not going for the likes of Eze, or, you know, we couldn't get a more Gibbs-White, Nico Paz is the perfect midfielder to come into this Spurs side. I think he's just got all the attributes and will be heavily improved by Thomas Frank. I just think it's an absolute no-brainer. I feel like the other names I'm seeing just don't give me the same impact and feeling as Nico Paz. The Argentine is going to be going on to bigger and better, and we've got to get in there before he makes an even bigger move. But let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you think we should be signing Nico Paz, or should we sign Eze, or should we be signing someone else? But yeah, if you have enjoyed, leave your like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and until next time, I'll catch you guys very soon. Up the Spurs. Ciao.